Welcome back, you guys, to Let's Talk About the Real Shit. I love saying that. It's really fun. I am Naomi, and I've got Lori and Lucas in the house. And I have a special guest as well, Nancy. How do you say it again?
Fedelem.
Fedelem. I love that. Fedelem.
It's a fun last name.
It is a fun last name. Well, welcome, Nancy, to The Real Shit. We're super excited tonight, you guys, to talk about puppies and kitties and animals and how our energy affects our little babies that love us so much. So we're excited to get into that tonight. But I wanted to say happy birthday to my business partner, Lori.
Thank you, Naomi.
Happy birthday, Lori.
Happy birthday.
Thank you,
happy
Nancy.
birthday.
And Lucas.
Are you going to tell them how old you are?
I'm not quite 2 hands yet.
Looking good. Anyways, what did you do for your birthday? This is good.
I spent my birthday at my personal nirvana, which is the Gorge Amphitheater for Labor Day weekend, surrounded by love and kindness and gratitude and people that I love and people that love me. And phenomenal music.
It was a Dave Matthews Band, right?
Yeah.
And he plays all night. Yeah, he plays 3 nights.
3 nights of just fantastic music.
She was our little dancing real shit fairy for 3 days, handing out stickers.
Oh, that's so fun.
Wearing our T-shirts. It was really fun. Anyway, so you had a revelation, though, when you came back with your meditation, and I really wanted you to share it with everybody because I love this.
Right. So last time we were together, I talked about naming your ego and minus Lego and how I have been asking her to be quiet, go away, shut up, sit in time out. And last week, prior to going to the Gorge, I had a different revelation, and that I am now calling coaxing Lego out of the closet. And I came to an understanding that Lego is kind of my inner child, for lack of a better description. And Lori, have been keeping Lego in the closet and telling her to shut up and be quiet. But for me to get to the place where I want to be, I have to recognize that she is part of me, and I have to bring her along on the journey, and I have to give her the freedom to be free and come out of the closet and be a child and play and fly free with no judgment, without my judgment. And to me, that was pretty profound in that moment.
And I love that you're sharing that, because when we had Lucas on the first time, we definitely talked in depthly about naming your ego. And so I remember you saying that then, that you're like, shh, get back, get in the corner. No, I'm not going to answer or listen to you. For you to come back after such an amazing 4 days and a lot of things in your life that has been happening, and you did it. And so you are talking about the change, which has been just a few weeks from that last one. Yeah. So yay, Lori. Good job.
It's a personal evolution.
Yeah.
I'm on my journey, and I just keep having these profound. So if I could share one more, and that kind of leads into the quote of the week. Today's meditation, I was taught about grace, and it took me a minute to get there, to get to a point where I could allow Lego to come out of the closet and join me in this quiet place, and then listen to what I'm supposed to learn. And when I finally got there, I learned about grace. And this is what I learned about grace. I heard that grace it's our job to be human. That's what we're on this planet for. It's our job to be human. And humans are not perfection. And that is why there is grace. We are given grace to use it and to live in it.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yay. And she came up with this today in her meditation.
Yeah, I think it's really, I mean, you said profound already. That's a great term for it. It's profound to observe people when they are, you know, self-exploring or going through some of these experiences, and then actually to dedicate to, you know, the evolution or the growth, even if it's not necessarily like, oh, I'm getting better or whatever. You know, you're going through some of the nitty-gritty, and to put into practice, you know, those desires and stuff. I mean, you're inspiring me, Lori. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lucas.
Yeah, me too, always. So you look beautiful. We love you. I mean, happy birthday. I'm glad that you got to have that experience again. Next year, you guys, we're taking her to Burning Man. We're planning now. It's like you got to plan an entire year to get to Burning Man. But yeah, we're going to take her out onto the playa next year. So we're really excited about that. So... all right, we'll see you guys on the playa next year. And actually, we would like to build an art piece for The Real Shit, and where we can record some podcasts where you come in and bullshit with us a little bit on the playa. So that'll hopefully be something that we can pull off this year. You guys can call us out on it. We'll give you updates.
Yeah, share some of your profound thoughts throughout the year. Write them down, people.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And I know that's a good reminder, too, is that we have a forum on our website where you guys can all jump in on some of these conversations. There's different topics. It's easy to just type in. And if you guys have any ideas, too, of things that you want to hear or talk about, that is definitely one place that you can do that as well.
Yeah, we will absolutely look at all those ideas, go through them. And if we end up using one, you know, we'll give you a little shout out.
Totally. Maybe you can call in too, because we're going to be able to do that soon. So that's exciting. So I wanted to introduce you guys to Nancy. I have been going to Nancy's pet store in Portland. It's called Fang, and I remember it being calling it the Fang and the Feather, right?
Yes.
At one point,
yeah.
But I think Fang is the abbreviated.
Well,
but
now we're Fang Pet and Garden Supply.
Yes. So that's how long I've been
Fancy.
going there. And she does pets. They really care about your animals there. It's worth the money that you spend on your animals, because I think it's preventative long term. We'll talk more about that. But she also sells plants in the store. And I have to tell you guys, plants and pets. And it's like, I wonder who I would be so friends with this lady who owns the store. I just vibe with all of this and her employees. And it's just a really neat place. And so I reached out and she reached back, and she also owns 2 other pet stores in Portland. Isn't it Salty's Pet Supply, and the other one was Three Paws?
Three Paws Pet Supply, yeah.
Yay.
Yep.
That's awesome. So I've been going to the one on Lombard for many years, but that's exciting. So welcome, Nancy. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
I'm super stoked.
I'm really excited to be here. This is a lot of fun.
Awesome. So I've always wanted to know, like, what your story is. Like, what got you to this place where you have this store that it's successful?
Yeah, well, I didn't expect to be here, honestly. My beginning career was in set design in the theater.
Oh, wow.
And so I went to school for that and worked in special events after I graduated. I actually have a master's degree that I don't use.
That's pretty common.
Yeah,
I hear.
but it's paid off, so I'm happy about that.
That's good.
I was living in San Diego at the time, and my husband and I had been married for a couple years, and I actually didn't grow up with pets. We had cats. My mom didn't like dogs, and so 5 days after my husband and I got married, he said, I want to adopt a dog.
Oh.
And I was like, well, that's your dog. I want nothing to do with your dog. Because I didn't know anything about dogs.
Right. It
So
can
a
be
lot of them start
intimidating.
out.
Yeah. And so we adopted our first dog. He was a Rot Lab mix, and we named him Monk. And he was like 18 months old. We got him at a high kill shelter in San Diego. And he, within the first 6 weeks, had changed my life. Like, I was totally in love with dogs, and he was just an amazing animal. And he was with us until he was 13. So we lost him about 6 years ago. And after we adopted him, 6 months later, I wanted another dog. And so we ended up with a little miniature pinscher puppy, and we named her Sharona, and we still have her.
Awesome.
She's 16 and a half. She's my little cranky old lady, and I love her dearly. Yeah.
Do you sing to her, my Sharona?
Yes, anytime there's karaoke, I'm going to be singing that song.
Awesome.
All my
I'm with you.
friends
I'll be
know
your
that.
backup singer.
Thank you. I always need backup singers.
Shows our age.
So we ended up doing min pin rescue. So we fostered min pins for a while, and then after a couple years, after we were married, decided we wanted to leave San Diego and were looking for places to move and decided to move to Portland. And when we were looking at different neighborhoods to move into, we live in the Mississippi Avenue area. That's where Salty's
Oh my
is
God,
located.
there's so much construction right now. I'm sorry.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Boy, tell
sorry.
me about it. So we found this house that we wanted to purchase, and I was looking at the neighborhood. You know, that neighborhood was really just kind of burgeoning at that time. And a pet supply shop had opened 2 weeks before we moved into our house. And I had posted on a forum that I was like, ooh, I want to work there because I was going to stop doing special events and I wasn't going to have anything to do. And so I walk into the store after we get moved in, and the woman that owned the store, name's Paula, she looked at me and I looked at her. I'm like, hi. And she's like, hi. And we talked a little bit, and she goes, did you post something online about wanting to work here?
That's so cute.
And I was like, yes, I did. She's like, would you like to start Saturday? And I was like, I would love to start Saturday. That's great. So I started working for her, and she realized she hated retail. And I'd never worked retail, and I realized I loved retail like crazy. And she's like, let's be business
Well, that
partners.
one's fun too because the puppies are coming in.
yeah.
I mean, come on.
It was, yeah. And I
ideal.
just love talking to people about training and their dogs and just
good
anything
girl.
that people tell me. And so she decided, though, that after we became business partners, that she wanted to move to Turkey.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah. She's a social worker in the ER, and so she was going to go work overseas in the military doing that type of thing. And so she's like, buy the business.
Awesome.
And I was like, okay. So I bought Salty's, and after that, you know, grew the business, worked 7 days a week, crazy hours.
Oh, yeah.
I had one employee at the time and just kind of grew from there. And then I got bored one day and decided to open another store in the Montevilla neighborhood. And I actually sold that within about a year of opening it. And that was also a Salty's. And then I moved Salty's to its new location, which is in a much bigger space. It was 450 square feet, and now it's 2,100
Yay,
square feet.
wow.
Yeah. So that was fun. And then in between that time, I decided to open Fang. And so that was first in the Kenton neighborhood, the heart of it. And so it doesn't sound like you maybe No, you visited that
I've
store.
probably
the little
visited,
one.
but yeah, I've been going since it was on Lombard.
Yeah. So their first location was like 1,000 square feet. And then when we moved on to Lombard, we went to 4,100 square feet and added the garden center. So, and when we moved to Lombard, I also decided to open the Southwest store. And
Nice.
so I was like very tired after all of that and have decided to take a break. But yeah, I mean, I just kind of stumbled upon it and loved the interactions with the customers, and that was always my favorite part. And then as we grew, I was like, holy cow, I'm a business owner. How did this
Yeah.
happen? And
Right.
so
Yeah.
asked for help in different ways and was been educated in running a business and multiple businesses now. And
You got to just do it.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just got to do it.
I faked it a lot at the
Yeah.
beginning, but now
Yeah.
it's been a lot of fun for me. I've enjoyed it, but I don't work in the stores anymore, which is I'm a little sad about.
yeah. Well, I mean, you really could if you wanted to.
I could. There's a lot of behind the scenes things I do that people don't realize. Like,
I'm sure.
there's so much.
So I have a question.
yeah.
Why the name Three Paws? It's just sticking in my head, so I have to ask.
That is an excellent question. So after we lost our dog Monk, I have 4 dogs, and we have 1 cat right now. And so we lost Monk, and I couldn't handle only having 3 dogs. And so I found this wonderful dog to adopt from the Pixie Project, and his name is Parker, and he's a tripod.
Aw.
And so 3 Paws is named after Parker.
Yay.
Oh, Parker.
Yeah, and you actually will. Parker's hidden in a lot of things in all of the stores, like the Salty's logo. If you really look closely at it, there's a little silhouette of a dog. It only has 3 legs, so he's a reoccurring theme, and he's like I couldn't take Monk to the stores because he would have eaten everything. Parker is the best boy ever, and he just comes to the stores with me, and he loves people, and he loves to get pets, and he loves cookies, and he'll just lay on his bed and watch everything go by. He likes to manage the staff. He follows them around.
Oh my God, that's
Yeah, he's the
so
best.
much fun.
Yeah, I love him so much. I love all my dogs so much, but Parker's such a good boy. But yeah, I was like, he needs to have
That's
a store
cool.
named after him.
He needs to shine a little
He
bit.
does. Yeah.
And how old is Parker?
He's 13.
Okay.
I adopted him when he was about 6.
Oh,
Yeah.
good for you.
Yeah.
My Brody man is 12 and a half. So I'm
he's a
hitting,
baby.
I'm hitting some differences with him right now. I'm seeing it
That's a hard thing. I mean, so my pets range in age from Parker, who's my baby at 13, to my cat, who's 19.
Wow.
So we live in a geriatric household. So it's I administer a lot of supplements and medication, and everybody eats different food. It takes me. I was feeding them before I came over here, and it takes me between 30 and 45 minutes to feed them all. Because one
Wow.
of them I have to hand feed sometimes because he's picky. I don't know. I am a dog mom, and I'm a little crazy. So.
I love it.
Some
She's totally
dedication.
wearing her dog mom t-shirt. Wear it proudly, darling.
Yes, absolutely. I'm very proud of it.
That's awesome. So I wanted to actually get into it a little bit. I was telling her this early, but I want to share with you guys out there that one of my huge moments that I had when I was going in there to buy food, I had my dog. I had no idea about the raw thing yet. And I went into her store at Fang, and they were selling Akana, and they said that they weren't going to be carrying this anymore because Nestle had bought them, and there was things that they were lying about putting it in the food, and so that was it. And I was so happy that they A, knew that, B, were willing to do that, which was awesome. So thank you for that. And so I think that was the last bag of Akana food that I bought her. And then I was like, okay, I have this amount of time to start researching how I'm going to switch over my animals. And that was when I started educating myself more about, the raw. So they're on raw 90% of the time right now, which is really good. It does get a little expensive. But like I said, her poops, I have a pit bull, and yes, we're going to talk about poop right now because we're talking about dogs. She only poops like once a day, maybe twice, and it doesn't smell, guys, and it's little. It's like she's a pit bull. It's little. She doesn't fart either.
Yep.
She is like so much less stinky, and pit bulls have really sensitive skin, and so I have definitely noticed a difference like consistently with her belly.
Yeah.
Her belly area.
No, that's great.
And
That's
so my
what you
cat, oh my God, she was such a little bitch. Is she right there?
Yes, she is.
Oh my God,
She heard
Corky
you talking to
Noodles.
her.
That's Corky Noodles.
She is adorable. And a pretty girl.
She is really fun. I chase my cat around the house going, I love my cat and my cat loves me.
Love that.
Like she's running, and it's that bad. But anyway, she would not switch over to the raw for I was determined because I wanted her to be healthier, and I knew she was more likely to have problems than my dog. And 3 or 4 months, finally, I guess she just got hungry enough.
Well, cats are probably the hardest animals to switch foods when you are changing to a diet.
Mm-hmm.
So they really get into texture. And if you want me to totally nerd out on weird cat stuff right now, I can, but I don't have to.
Yes.
So cats are carnivores, and really the only thing they should be eating is meat. In the wild, they would not eat dry cereal, which is what kibble
they're catching
is.
birds and squirrels and
they get their moisture from their diet. But the thing is that when we feed them this, processed food, and I think that you should. I'm going to just go back for 1 second. I think that people should feed what best they can afford.
Agreed.
Best what they can do. I prefer raw diet. After raw, I would prefer dehydrated raw or canned food, and kibble is my least favorite. So
Right.
for cats, them eating kibble is counterintuitive to their body because they should only be eating meat, and all kibble has to have carbohydrates in it to hold it together. So it's going to have
super
potatoes
starchy.
or peas or whatever, and they don't digest that well. And also, it's just sugar, and so a lot of times
They get
cats,
addicted.
Yeah, they get addicted. So it's
I heard
an
that.
addiction. So that's why it's hard to switch them. Is so they're like, you're taking away my McDonald's. I can't.
I know, and I have to go through it
handle."
again too, guys, because I
went
although
back
you
to
know
kibble a
what,
little
she's
bit.
been used to raw more, so it's a little bit easier. She'll complain, and really just refuse to eat for a couple of days, but then she gets right back into it because it's just better for her. But some days I can't afford it, so
No,
she gets
or,
McDonald's.
Or all of humans too. Like you can't eat
Yeah,
you have to eat
exactly.
McDonald's occasionally. It's
Yeah.
not terrible, but if you can try to feed, and the fact that you do 90% is great. If people do even 50% like raw or canned and kibbled, I feel like that's a success because that animal is getting whole food in their diet, which is really important.
So let's nerd out on the dog side of the
Sure.
food too.
So, one thing I do want to just
Okay.
note is that Acana and Origin is owned by a company called Champion Pet Foods, and they did not technically sell to Nestle.
Okay.
They were in negotiations with it, but they are partially owned by a large investment company that invests in businesses, and
Got you.
their businesses aren't that great. So I just want to say
Great.
that in case they're
Thank
listening.
you.
I don't want to necessarily
Well, and this is
say
good. This
yeah.
is good information. So yeah.
So dogs too, like in in nature, your dog doesn't eat cereal. They don't get a bowl and a box of cereal and milk and eat. They eat what they find. They might hunt. So for them, eating a biologically appropriate diet for dogs and cats is really important. And so raw is a preferred way. There's a lot of controversy going on right now about raw, though, because the FDA is trying to make rules about raw that it's not safe for pets. And there's actually a huge
Really?
division between FDA, veterinarians, and the pet food industry, and pet nutritionists about what the proper diet is. And I always say follow the money on where that's happening and why that's happening.
Right.
So what's their reasoning behind that? Why are they saying that raw is not appropriate for pets?
So there's two things. One is that they're saying that because it's raw and you're handling it as a human, there's a potential to spread, germs or whatever, right? So essentially what they're saying is that humans are not bright enough to wash their hands and their plates after they feed their pets. So don't feed this food.
I have my food handler's card. Wouldn't that be funny if they made you get your food handler's
To
card
feed
to
raw.
feed your animals raw?
Yeah. So that's one reason. And then the other reason is that there's this board called AFCO, which is a group of people from the private sector that's a government group that makes all of the rules for what needs to be in the food nutritionally. And if you look at the panel, you'll see that there's some large corporation people on that panel from Nestle, from General Mills, like all of these companies that own pet food companies and that don't make raw, that make kibble. So
yeah.
so they're really trying to push people away from it. And I've seen raw reverse diabetes in cats. I've seen raw help dogs and cats both with cancer have a full and wonderful life, whether they had treatment
The
or
stuff
not.
that they're putting in kibble. I mean, because I was very concerned. I really wanted to do the research, and I was watching this 3-hour long video. And you guys, everybody's attention spans are really short. So for me to get through this 3-hour video, I was like, my mind was blown by the information of this crap that is in their food. It like makes me so grossed out that to the point where that's how determined I was to not give in to my cat's like pickiness.
Yeah.
I was like, this is because I love you this much.
Yeah.
I am not. It's hard.
Once you go down that rabbit hole and really start learning about the pet food industry,
Yeah, it's
very eye-opening.
super scary.
Yeah.
Well, I just have to go back to the thought because my mind is kind of blown for a minute. We can feed our children food, raw food that we buy at the grocery store and handle that in our kitchens, but they're trying to make it unsafe for us to handle the same types of food for
Yes.
our pets.
Yeah, and
That's mind-boggling.
yeah,
to
and
me.
one of the things with it too, and this is like kind of weird inside baseball stuff though in the dog food industry, is that they want to so there's this process called HHP where they essentially put the food under pressure in a low temperature, and it gets rid of salmonella and that kind of stuff. It's still kind of cooking it. So true raw food has not had that. And so it has all of these good enzymes in it that's great for digestion and that are going to be huge benefits for just everything for your pet. Great for their teeth. Hopefully gets rid of gas. All of these things
so
that
awesome.
raw can do. And so when they put it through that process, it does kind of cook it. And so there's a couple companies that don't do that. And so they're trying to regulate those companies, but also say don't feed raw in general.
So Nancy, can you for our listeners that maybe this is the first time they've heard of raw diet, or maybe some that have been kind of getting through the process of learning about it, can you kind of give us like a 100 level of the difference between a raw diet, or kind of define the raw diet compared to a standard kibble diet?
Yeah, so that's a really great question, and I just assume everybody knows about pet food as much as I do.
Right.
So raw and kibble are essentially a lot of times the same ingredients. It's all about processing. So with kibble, what has happened is that they have cooked the food. So there's different ingredients that they'll put into there. So I'm going to just talk about like high end pet food and not the low end, because I don't want to necessarily get into what the nasty ingredients are that they put in low end.
Gotcha.
But in high end, you're going to have a meat. You want to have named meat. You don't want to have anything that is a meal or hyphenated or poultry product. Like, you want it to have a name. You want it to be lamb. You want it to be chicken. And so they're going to start with that. And then after that, they're going to add a carb, because they need to put something in there to hold it together. And so that's going to be field peas, legumes. It can be oatmeal. It can be different things. And so that carb aspect is not necessarily something that is in the raw diet. So they have to put it in there to hold it, so that it's going to be a stable shelf, and put, that kind of they don't put preservatives in it, but they do put things in it that help it stay stable on the shelf so that it lasts longer for consumers. So raw is just all of those ingredients, but not processed. So it's going to be mostly meat, and then they're going to put some vegetables in it, and that's it. So you will find some carbs in it. Sometimes they put carrots in there. Sometimes they put peas, and beans are also a carb that you'll find in there. But it's not cooked and it's not processed. And our bodies are much better at utilizing the nutrients from food that's not been over processed. It's just like if we ate, all processed food all the time and didn't eat any fruits or vegetables or anything, we would be sick from that. And that's the same, I think, for the big thing with like between kibble and raw, is that if you're going to feed kibble, add some whole food to it somehow so that you can have the benefits of that and have some variety in your pet's diet. But yeah, kibble and raw, also, the big difference is moisture. So in the wild, these animals are getting all of their moisture from the food that they eat. They don't necessarily have to drink water. And so that's another huge benefit of raw. You'll see when you switch to that, coats will be shinier, they'll be softer. They won't drink as much water because they're getting the water from their food.
I can account to that.
Yeah. And it freaks people out at first. They're like, oh my gosh, my dog doesn't drink water anymore. And when we explain to them, they don't.
They're hydrated,
yeah,
right?
it's in their food the way that it should be.
Yeah, I've definitely noticed that with Feely and the cat. So it's a huge difference, even in just a couple of days.
Oh, yeah. And like you said, you see smaller stool sizes, because the other thing, too, with kibble is that a lot of the things that are in kibble are just there to hold the kibble together. And so they essentially are poop. Like, that's why
all
all
the
the
filler,
starch.
in essence, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I have to make a dog mom confession.
Uh-oh.
My little man, it took me 10 years to figure out that he was allergic to chicken and grains. And his poor little life was miserable for a lot of that time period, because he was just itchy and scratchy, and he always had that kind of yeasty smell to him. No, I don't feed him raw, but he is on a limited ingredient diet, and ever since I've switched him to that, and that's all he gets, and carrots. That's the only treat he gets, are carrots, which he loves. Mm-hmm. But his coat is so much better. His eyes are brighter. He's not miserable scratching himself. It's just made such a difference, and it didn't even register with me that he could possibly be allergic to chicken, because it's like growing up, it's like that's what you feed your dogs, you know? Chicken.
Yeah.
How can they be allergic?
That's
Yeah.
one of the things I found in my homework is that I didn't know that dogs could be allergic to chicken.
Yeah, chicken is one of the top ingredients that they're going to be allergic to. Usually it's wheat, corn, and soy are the first things to take out of a diet. And none of the foods that we sell at my stores have wheat, corn, or soy in them. But then after that, it's going to be chicken. And part of that is because the quality of the chicken that's going into it might not be that great. But also chickens eat corn. And if your dog has a sensitivity to corn, that's going to cause that. And the other thing, too, is, just kind of looking at all the ingredients in there and where they're coming from, that can also affect that. But yeah, I mean, my dog Parker, my tripod, he is allergic to chicken also. And I found out the hard way. I was feeding him chicken, and he's black and white, and his little chest is red as white. And so one day I noticed that it was bright red underneath his fur.
I've seen that color.
And his ears were that way.
Yes,
and I'm
yes.
like, oh, what did I change? Because I rotate their diet. I try to change what they eat because rotation's also really important for health, just like in humans it is for our pets. And so I was like, oh, he's eating chicken. Not going to feed him that anymore. And I sometimes have fed kibble too. Like I will rotate through a lot of different things, and I was feeding him a kibble and I didn't read the ingredient panel all the way through, and it had chicken in there, and he got red again, and I was like, oh, sorry, Parker.
No.
He's a very forgiving dog. But yeah, I mean, once you know though, like you can really see it. And I've worked with so many people with so many different issues that like it's easier for me when customers come in and have questions to be able to be like, oh, have you tried these things?
So can we maybe change the topic a little bit from food to energy?
Yes.
Sure.
Yes.
So obviously I'm kind of into human energy and also pet energy. And I've been reading and researching how human energy can affect animals. So I'm just kind of curious, in your 3 stores with your staff and the people that you've encountered, what kind of like energy questions or solutions do you have to offer?
So I think that's a really fascinating topic. Energy really is important because our animals really pick up on that. So because of what kind of animals they are, they communicate differently than we do, obviously, and they can really pick up on our energy and the energy of others around them, like other animals and what they're going to do. And they also have a lot of visual cues too that you'll see. But I've had many experiences where energy has really made a big difference in behavioral issues with pets. So I was at a seminar this past summer, and they were talking about a kind of training that I hadn't actually experienced that's called BAT. And I can't remember what the BAT stands for, but a lot of it has to do with having calm energy around your dog. And really, like, one of the things they do is they actually stroke the leash when they're walking. So say you have a dog that's maybe a little reactive on leash, like part of it is like stroking the leash.
That's a very good idea.
Yeah, just to kind of like, but also to calm you down. And I think that's something I talk to customers and just people in general about a lot is like, like if there's, if your dog's barking at the window and you don't want them to bark, when you yell at them because you're like lost your mind because your dog's barking, you're barking with them.
Right.
Yep.
They don't know what you're saying.
No, they just hear the bark and
Yeah.
they're like, okay, I guess we're still doing this.
Yeah, we're all crazed right now. And so like it's better to redirect that energy and be like, oh, hey, let's come and get a cookie and sit. Like I actually trained, so I have the 3 miniature pinchers in Parker, and I trained them that when they would see a squirrel, that they would run inside and get a cookie instead of bark at the squirrel.
Oh, good girl. That's awesome.
It took a while, but I would just
Diligence.
they would see it and be
They
like,
will
oh,
pick
run
it up.
Yeah, they're like, oh, let's go inside and get a cookie. So I mean, that's also an energy thing. So instead of me going, be quiet, whatever, which never works, it's more like, let's go inside, do something else. Like, let's not worry about that. And I think that kind of calm energy really helps. So I would say energy-wise, training really helps. And I also think that when you get into the older stages, in this more senior stages, that energy is really important too. I have one of my dogs is 15 and a half. His name's Bubby, and he's blind and deaf, and he has 3 teeth, and it's really hard to get him to eat. And so I sit with him when he eats, and sometimes I have to hand feed him, and sometimes, he'll eat on his own, which is better. But I always make sure that I sit down with him, and I put my hands on either side of him, and I stroke him, and I tell him it's okay. He's a little worried the other dogs are going to come and get his food, so he gets kind of upset about that. But we just try to be really calm and eat our food, and that he responds well to that.
Yeah.
I have a little bit of that with Brody Mans too, and I live in a wonderful community of pet lovers, and we help each other with our pets, and mainly people help me with my pet because I travel a lot.
Yeah.
But one of the things I've had to educate caregivers for is if he's not eating because he's nervous or he knows I'm gone, whatever the situation, if you just sit on the couch and put his dish down by your feet, he will eventually come and eat. Yes, because it's just that calming presence, I think, as he knows it, you're going to be there with him, and so it's okay to just eat. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, and I think that's there's so many tricks I think that so many of us have with how we have to interact and feed with our pets, and a lot of it just has to do with being calm and cool and collected. We talk a lot about alpha dogs and that type of thing, and really it's not a thing. It's more about if as humans, we respond better to people that are calm and confident, and we can rely on what their reaction is going to be to us. But that alpha mindset is that all of a sudden you're going to flip out about something, and I don't know what that is. So now I'm actually just living in fear of you. What kind of crazy thing are you going to do now if I just move wrong, or if I grab my toy wrong? Am I going to get yelled at? So that idea of being in a heavy presence over an animal is not really doesn't get you the results that you want. You can train much better with kindness.
Well, and one of the things I read too is that if you as the human in the pack are not the leader, then the puppy or the dog, naturally they need to be led. So if you're not the leader, they're going to be the leader.
Yeah.
And then they may become more aggressive because they're not only the leader and they don't know where they're going, but they're also the protector.
Well, yeah, and they might be resource guarding. Yeah, it gets confusing for them.
Yes.
They're if you're not going to be in charge, I guess I have to, and I have to protect you, and this is what I need to do. And so that's the calm, confident leader thing is really important.
There's a lot of dogs out there walking their humans.
Oh, yeah, totally. Yeah. Well, and I think, I know that from my not having a dog growing up, when we first adopted Monk, that dog was very forgiving and taught me so much, so much. And much like many people, when you get a new animal, and you talk to other people about what do you do? A lot of times that information is not necessarily really good information because it's just what they've learned. And so that is exactly what happened with me with Monk.
So Nancy, this actually, you just led up to the question I was going to ask you. Again, I kind of keeping in my mind that some of our listeners may have little to no experience with their animals, or maybe they have one and they're just having a hard time with it. So can you paint a picture for us of what like a generic good approach to dogs or cats in general, working with them, maybe some training aspects, that interaction, kind of what that looks like?
Yeah, I want to start off with that I'm not a certified dog trainer.
Fair enough.
But I do work with a lot of people that are having training issues, and I've taken many training classes and know a lot of trainers. But I think, one thing that people get told is about being the alpha, and maybe alpha rolling a dog if it does something that you don't want it to do. And that is actually super dangerous. You could totally get bit in the face or somewhere else, and then the dog's probably not going to trust you. I think a lot of times too, which I've seen, and I think sometimes with small dogs you see this later on in their life, is that humans are amazing creatures. But sometimes you just kind of scratch your head and go, why would you do that? So like they'll antagonize animals, and they don't think of it like, they're not trying to be mean. They think it's kind of funny, So, this little puppy, I'm going to grab its face, and then when it bites me, I'm going to yell at it. But I was antagonizing it, and it was just trying to protect itself.
Yeah.
So you're kind of training that dog that hands are scary, and you might get yelled at if you do something. Like there's a lot of things like that, I think, that you, as humans, we just don't think about, and that can set up animals to fail. That can happen with cats too, very easily. And you can actually clicker train cats just as easily as you can dogs.
Really?
Yeah, they really do respond, especially if you have a food motivated cat. They love to learn. You can clicker train chickens. Almost any animal you can do that with.
My cat fetches.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, she fetches. she. I think growing up around a pit bull, I mean, she is in love with the pup. So she's picked up things. My dog doesn't even fetch. So
she's like, if you're not going to grab it, I will.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, she loves it.
That's cute.
It's cute.
But yeah, I think that things that we'd talk to customers will come in and maybe so we are a force-free pet supply store. So what that means is that we don't sell choke chains, we don't sell prong collars, we don't sell shock collars, we don't sell any kind of training device that's going to cause pain or force your dog to do something, or cat to do something they don't want to do. And so one of the things we do end up talking to people about is when they come in with those things is other options, because a lot of times like prong collars actually will cause issues related to pain, because essentially, it's causing them pain when they do something wrong. And a lot of people that are using those tools are not using them correctly. So like
Agreed.
a prong collar with a flexi lead, that's so heartbreaking to me. Like that's like so mean.
Agreed.
And the same with the choke chain. Like if they're on a flexi lead with the choke chain, it's like your dog's just choking themselves.
Yeah.
We prefer harnesses because it's better to protect their tracheas. Like a lot of dogs that get walked on collars in general can end up having trachea issues.
Yeah,
Interesting.
There's an issue that I actually, my past dog, Mary, was diagnosed with laryngeal paralysis in her 11th year.
Yeah.
And thinking back about it, like she was pretty good on the leash. I got to a point where I could just kind of shake my wrist and she'd respond pretty well, but there were times where, at a busy street, I'd have to stop and it'd get her throat a little bit. And so looking back, like I absolutely take responsibility, and that the collared leash was probably a big proponent in creating that situation, and not thinking about it. Like I was never really mean to her, but sometimes just to keep her protected, like that was, I could see right away it's, just leading into that issue.
Yeah. And, I think we all do the best that we can. And I think, it's not something you should be hard on yourself about. Nobody should, because we should look at this life as a way to learn. Like there were so many things that I learned. I fed really bad pet food until I learned about good pet food.
Right.
And once I learned about it, I was like, more people need to know this, but people don't usually talk about it. Because, when I was growing up, we would feed the grocery store pet food, right?
Yeah.
And like our pets did fine. But then I started to read about what that was, and I was like, oh, no, we're not feeding this. No.
Yeah, I'm telling you guys, once you're down that rabbit hole, like you said, you cannot go back. It is crazy, insane. It is what drove me to continue this battle with the cat, because I realized what was happening, and I'm like, yeah, this is what's happening now, because that's how much I love you. So yeah, it's definitely a thing. I have a pit bull, so as you guys all know now, and she is so sensitive. She is so sensitive to people's energy. There's like 2 people that she will never does not like, that just kind of comes around every once in a while. She'll know them, but there's just something. So I made a t-shirt. It's actually, you'll think it's pretty funny, but it says, "Your energy is affecting my dog."
I love that.
And I made that because it's got the little cute puppy face looking up at you like, yeah, it's affecting me. Because when I walk her, it's very common for people to cross the street or to get their dog and climb over a fence. That's happened.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm all, her best friend's a cat. But it's really affects me because, of their instant fear of just the breed. And I know that, and nowadays you guys too, because we're in an apartment, and with the apartments, when you look at the list of breed restrictions, it is way more than just like the pit bull or the terrier.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, it's pretty long and extensive what these dogs are going through. So I always say ban the man, not the breed, right?
Yeah. No, yeah.
But energy is a huge thing that affects my dog. She is so sensitive. She's so sensitive to my energy. It's not even funny. So she's actually my legal emotional support dog. So I wanted to go into that a little bit. So I found one of my friends dead from suicide 10 years ago. We'll talk about that another time. But I was moving into, I've always had dogs. I've always had a dog. And I had lost my last one. She had died. And so I was ready for a new one. When we moved into these apartments, they were not going to let me have my dog. So then after 10 years of not going to therapy for this huge traumatic moment in my life, which I should have done and just didn't know, right? I ended up going to therapy, and I went every 5 days. I went every 5 days. I love her. She moved to Canada, but we can still Skype. But it really, I realized after talking to her and talking a lot through energy, and this actually kind of switches it up to another article that we were reading on how people are living longer because of the support of their dogs. And so this, my little one, she is so in tune with me. I think that she's a little bit sensitive to other women, and it's because it's a mom thing. And she is there no matter what every time I need her when I'm feeling it, or even when I'm feeling a little loopy or something. She is present. She'll give her nose up. It's time to go to the tent, Mom. Anyway, so I fought for her. I do believe in energy, but I also wanted to kind of dip into what the effects are for animals, cats and dogs, for older people, and how it lowers your blood pressure and all of these benefits of just being a pet owner.
They and same with plants, honestly.
Yes.
When you're older, or if you have any kind of depression or anxiety issues, having something to take care of is really going to help you, because you have something to focus on to distract you from those feelings. And maybe, they're a good tool. They get you out of the house. If you have a pet, you're like, I need to take my dog for a walk. He needs to go potty. So I'm going to do that. If you can have those small steps. But yeah, when I'm having a bad day, I will grab Parker and we'll go sit at the park, and I just put my arms around him and hug him, and he's like, yep, this is great. And I'm like, all right, I've had my time with Parker, and we've he wants to make sure I'm taken care of. I can tell that about him because he's always very in tune to me. Yeah. And so I think that animals just have this way also of getting us humans out of our heads too, because they do silly, cute things, or they're laying in a ray of sunshine, and your heart just goes, oh, yes.
Yeah, it does. It instantly changes.
I want to do that.
Yeah.
Well, then that's the other thing is, can I cuddle with you in that sunshine right now?
I saw the funniest thing the other day, guys. It was I was watching my dog chase his tail for 10 minutes, and I was thinking to myself how dogs' brains are so simple that it's entertaining him to chase his tail for 10 minutes. But then I just realized I just watched him doing it for 10 minutes. So it was it does take you out of that headspace.
Wow, it's great. And they're just little comedians, and they care for us, and they know that, they're safe with us and that they have their pack. And I don't know what I would do if I didn't have, I always tell people, same. I'll always have 4 dogs.
Well, my daughter told me pets pick their people. And the interesting thing about that coming from my daughter is Brody was a gift for my daughter after we had returned from Africa. If you've seen the movie Mean Girls, my daughter lived that. Moving into a small town of a clicky high school, and she was just like, I need something to love me. Aww. Broke my heart. And then there was this cute little puppy. So yeah, Brody was a gift for my daughter, and that lasted a whopping 8 weeks. And then Brody kind of became my responsibility. But I now know through my last 12 and a half years with my little creature, because he's more than a dog. He truly is.
He is a creature. We'll show you a picture.
Oh, I
He's
can't
my
wait.
little creature. I now know that he picked me because the universe, divine love, God, whatever you want to call it, knew that my life path was going to be a little bumpy and gave me this creature full of unconditional love to walk beside me for the last 12 and a half years. And he's still walking beside me.
He is.
Well, and I honestly, and we might get into some kind of interesting conversation here, but I actually don't think they ever really leave you, even when they might not have their body anymore. I think that their presence is still with you. I feel like Monk has been with me, and I actually have a friend that's an animal communicator, and I have them talk to my pets, and it's helped so much, especially with having such old geriatric pets right now that have different health issues, to be able to touch base with them and find out where they're at and what's making them happy and how I can make them happy and what they see their existence as being is it's something I believe in. And I feel like this summer actually has been kind of hard because my cat's 19. He actually has bone cancer, which is common in older cats. And, I've really been questioning when I might have to say goodbye to him. And we had the animal communicator talk to him. And it really has put me at ease on making that decision on what he wants. And also knowing like all the things that they told me were things I already knew in my gut, which I found interesting. I kind of would like to be an animal communicator, but I'm a little busy right now to focus on it. But
it's just validating.
Yeah. And I was just a mess. And then after we had them come over, talk to the pets, I was like, okay, I feel grounded now, and I know what they want, and I know that, and that energy too, part of it. Like I was just at this amped up, because I didn't know what to do, and it's so hard. And James has been with me, since he was a little kitten 19 years ago, and I want to make sure I do right by him. And he is a wonderful cat, and he purrs and he wants to eat and he's drinking and he's going potty. And I, as long as we have those moments together, I think, he'll let me know when he's ready. But it's definitely like that energy aspect to it, and them being with you. But I also know that when he is no longer with me, that he's still going to be there keeping an eye on me.
Everything is energy.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything is energy.
Totally.
Yeah. I believe that too. I believe that wholeheartedly. In fact, today I was just reading an article on this lady. She owned a lot of cats and a few dogs, and because it was it was the article on the supernatural and can animals sense the supernatural, and so this woman had passed, and they said that all of the cats would like go to this one spot all at the same time and like arch their back and start purring. And it was like she was there saying hi to all of her cats and her dogs.
And didn't it say one of the puppies would roll over like
and like
belly?
It scratches on the belly.
Yeah,
and
so
they would all
go to
they really do think that she was coming to visit.
Yeah, the same corner of the house. All the pets would go there for a moment.
Oh,
Isn't that
is
so cool?
wonderful. Yeah. Well, I know when I was growing up, my mom had a cat named Maddie, and she just loved that kitty so much. And when she lost her, she still now can like feel her presence. Like she can feel her like needing her when she goes to bed, and sometimes she'll see her in the house. And I mean, I think she's there to take care of them still, which is awesome. I think it helps my mom.
That's awesome.
Well, that leads me to another kind of topic from one of the articles, and that's these pets that can actually help humans with their health issues, whether it's epilepsy or diabetes when their blood sugars are too high or too low, Alzheimer's patients. And let's not forget about our soldiers who come back.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Post-traumatic stress.
Yeah.
And they have these animals, these creatures that really help them navigate their new world.
Even prisoners now, because they're even matching up some of the shelter kitties with prisoners.
Yeah. What is it called? Well, I can't remember right now. Oh, yeah. There's a great organization here in Oregon, actually, that does that.
Awesome.
That they put, there's dogs that go to inmates in the prison system, and they help train them. And I've met a few of the dogs that have been adopted from that, and those dogs do so well. And they're like last chance dogs. Like, they need a lot of
They need it as much as that.
Yeah. And just, I think, too, the other thing with working with animals like that is that to train them to, like, have that kind of reciprocal relationship is that just as much as it helps the pet, it gives the person more purpose. Like, especially in the prison system, they have been experimenting with it in the juvenile prison system too. And also it gives people a skill. Like, they can go out and, train to be a dog trainer and make that a profession.
And dog walking is really popular too. Like Lyft and Uber, you can go walk people's dogs,
So, and I think too, just the fact that people are more open-minded to learning what pets can give back, like that they can smell blood sugar changes, or was just reading an article about dogs that I think it was like 98% of the time when could find cancer, like could smell cancer, which, oh my gosh, that is like amazing.
They were talking about this on the radio this winter, and this is going to sound super gross, you guys, but this has really happened. This cat kept peeing in this guy's mouth. Like, it happened repeatedly.
Like, he was sleeping?
So gross. Yeah. And come to find out, he had mouth cancer. And that's what that cat was trying to tell him, was that you have mouth cancer. Because they can smell that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they can smell that.
Yeah.
So
they are amazing animals that they can do that. They're so smart, and a lot of people don't give them enough credit for how intelligent that they are.
I 100% agree with you. I drive for a rideshare, and so my center console has like all the paw prints in it, and I refuse to switch it out because it sparks the conversation with people that love animals because theirs looks the same.
Yeah.
Right. So I have a lot of different conversations about dogs, and then there's the few that want dogs, and I respect them so much for not going for it when they don't have the space or the time to do it. And so for all you listeners out there, if you are about to start this journey into the pet world, one of my recommendations I always say, educate yourself first. A good way to do that is actually going into the shelter anywhere that you're at. I've done it several states that I have lived in, and also I did volunteering for the National Search Dog Foundation. And so you get trained on how to approach these dogs, and you kind of get a little bit of a lowdown on different personalities, different things that can happen, like how to read your dog. And that could really help in your venture to start picking out a dog.
Well, and can I get real here for a minute too? Because pet ownership is it's a commitment. And for puppies, it can be a 10, 15, 19, maybe 20-year commitment. And it's also, I'm just going to be real here for a minute. I'm a single female. I live on Hayden Island, meaning I have to take I-5 traffic to get home. And I have to be home every evening between 5 and 6:30 so that I can walk my dog. So what does that eliminate for me as a single female in Portland? Happy hour, I honestly, I have to give up a lot of social time for me to take care of my dog, and that's my priority. Like I said, I have some neighbors that can help with that occasionally.
She gets to go to Dave Matthews Band for 3 days. But she's home.
But it's my responsibility to take care of my dog.
Yeah,
so
it is a big
there are
responsibility.
sacrifices. You have to get up and walk them 2-3 times a day. So unless you're really ready to make that commitment, please don't.
And also a good opportunity too is to think about pet sitting. If you can't have a dog, pet sit, educate yourself, have fun, hang out with the dog, snuggle the dog, play with the dog. Those are my favorite sitters, are the ones that don't get to have pets and they love them. And and they love and appreciate the snuggles. So that's another good way to kind of dip your toe and to get
Absolutely.
experience as well. But do educate yourself, or try to a little bit,
Well, and
a little bit.
your point too about volunteering with organizations. There are a lot of foster only rescues where you could become a foster and maybe have a dog for a couple weeks to a month.
Yeah, and this is just some of the times when they foster dogs, it's because they're in some sort of incubation period or something like that. So you're right, it can be up to 2 weeks up to permanent, I guess,
Yeah.
if you fall in love, which happens a lot
Yeah,
here.
I have one of those. But yeah, I think that there's really a lot of ways to interact with animals and not have to necessarily own an animal.
Yeah.
There are a lot of sacrifices. I know it probably drives my family, both my in-laws and my family, crazy because I don't really travel. I don't like to be away from my pets, especially with how old they are.
I don't like to, I do love to travel, but I am constantly thinking about my animals.
Yeah. No, it's really hard. My husband's going to San Diego tomorrow to visit his mom and the grandkids, and they were like, "Is Nancy going to be there?" And Matt was like, "No, he's not. She's not. She can't make it."
Yeah.
And they all booed. They were all boo.
Yeah.
I'm like, "Sorry, girls.
Yeah.
We'll see you soon. It's okay."
Yeah. I get it. I mean, it would be cool if we could all come together, right, as a community and help each other with our animals in those moments so that we could also remember the human connections.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because those are important too.
They are.
Even though
They
the furrier ones are cuter. I could go off on the whole family thing. That is for sure.
Well, and everyone.
Another podcast.
Oh yeah, okay. Awesome, you guys. I just wanted to thank you for coming and talking to us and nerding out. We could all talk about this forever. Is there any final questions that anybody has while we have her nerding out? Lucas?
Yeah, Nancy, I'm trying to make this a thing in any of the casts that I'm a part of, and it is, do you have any events coming up at any of your locations or anything that the community can get involved in the near future?
We do have, and I know it's a little early, but we have a huge annual event that we do at all 3 stores, which is Santa photos with your pets.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm Santa.
Yay!
So this will be the 6th year that we're doing it at Salties and Fang and our 3rd year at Three Paws. And so that event is so much fun. We have a great backdrop. We have a great photographer, my husband, who does all the photos. And we ask for a donation that we give to the Pongo Fund, which is an organization here in Portland. And if you don't know about them, they are a food bank for pets, which is amazing. And so for the last... I think this is our 4th year donating to them, and they give food to people in the community that are houseless or low income that can't necessarily afford to buy pet food, and they have really high standards. They make sure they have the kind of pet food that we sell, and so they know that they can help take care of those animals, and they help the people just as much. If you follow them on their social media, you will cry at almost every post they make.
Yeah.
They have a mobile vet clinic that they just started, and so last year, actually, our entire donation went to help support the the mobile vet clinic, which has been awesome.
Very cool.
Yeah. Yes.
It makes me happy.
Yes.
This
Yeah.
is good. This
So-
is why we're talking about this kind of stuff, you guys, is
Yeah.
to connect with our community.
Yeah. So Pongo Fund is amazing, and they so our Santa events we do it the weekend before Thanksgiving, so it's going to be November 23rd at Salties and November 24th at Fang, and we do that from 11 to 2 both days. And then Three Paws will be the 7th of December. We try to do it early because people really like to use those photos as their holiday cards.
It's a great idea.
I love when they send them to the store. I have a bunch on my refrigerator. We have them in the stores. There's been families that we've had come to all 6 years I was just making posters for this year and looking back at the photos from last year. And the hardest thing for me is a lot of time they're senior dogs. And so I know that maybe this is going to be the last time I get to cuddle with them. And those pictures I really cherish a lot. And just to see the customers' families grow up, like sometimes they'll bring their kids and I'll hold anything but reptiles. I'm a little freaked out by like snakes and stuff. But I have this one customer for the last 5 years brings her chicken and has brought her son. And so her son's grown up. And one of the famous pictures is the baby just like, he was very little and was not happy to be in Santa Nancy's lap. And so he was crying like mad. And so I'm holding a chicken and this crying baby and just, dressed up like Santa. It's
what do you
yeah.
It's like, I want to see it now.
The most amazing photo. But we have a really good time, and all the people that come in for the photos are really excited, and they get goodie bags that we get our vendors to donate stuff for, and so they go home with like these epic goodie bags, and then we know that we're doing a good thing helping out Portland animals and people. Because the other part about the food bank is that by giving people the opportunity to have food, they can keep their pets so they don't end up in the shelter system.
That's a huge part of it. I mean, I am personally somebody who always donates to the food bank because the food bank has fed me so many times I can't even count. So I didn't know that there was a food bank for pets, and I'm super stoked about that.
Yeah.
That's pretty exciting.
It is great, and I'm so happy that we can help support that. And I didn't think I'd like dressing up as Santa, but I actually do enjoy it a lot.
You love it. This is great. I love it.
It's funny.
I can't wait to see it, Nancy.
Yeah,
people are always like, "Where's Nancy?" And I'm like, "I'm here. I'm Santa." And they're like, "What?" Yeah, it's hilarious. I love it.
Oh, those are the joys. So I just wanted to share something with maybe some of our listeners that maybe not be as nerdy as all of us in this room are about our animals, but you still kind of want to help and do something. You may just like dogs, but you just don't know much about them. I used to be a server, so I was in the service industry. A lot of people out there are doing that. One suggestion is if you have a dog-friendly patio, please reach out to the shelters, the Pixie Project. Like, get these stories printed out of these babies that need homes. Some of them come together as a duo, but it's really fun for us to get those stories, laminate them, and put them on the tables at your dog-friendly patio. That is something that is super cool. I loved doing that. And actually, sometimes as a manager of this restaurant, I hosted dog adoption parties, and it was awesome. We did dog parties, and believe it or not, it worked. We gave out gift cards, to the loser and to the winner, and I mean, I was just one of the most fun days I've ever had. So there's other ways, you guys, and also volunteering. There's all kinds of things out there that you can volunteer for. So the shelters, dog walking, just educate yourself a little bit. Also, right now with the hurricane that is happening, I just heard a story of the woman who brought in 97 stray dogs into her home and barricaded them all in, and so that they could have a safe place to hide. And I think she said out of the 97 dogs, like 78 of them were in her master bedroom.
and my favorite from that was that she said none of them jumped on her bed.
They respected her space on the bed, which is incredible. So I'm glad that you saw that.
Oh, yeah.
And actually that article right now is definitely trending. And I looked it up, and there's a link on there. I'll post it on our social media so that you guys can follow through, but you can donate to this woman who just kicked ass. Like, in those, moments like hurricanes, like the dogs are a lot of times overlooked.
Yep.
So I've been recently learning about how many people have been helping these dogs in these natural disasters that are happening.
Yeah.
So there is lots of ways, you guys, that even if you don't have a little one every day, there is definitely something that you can do to get out there. Anyway, so thank you guys so much for talking about dogs with me. Dog nerds. I wanted to, we always like to leave the podcast by sharing something positive or funny or just something that had happened to us this week. Because, we all kind of have the different deck of cards that we got dealt, so we deal with different things. And so, Lucas, will you start with that?
Yeah. So I have been house and cat sitting actually for the last 3 weeks. It was a month gig, and I had a cat when I was younger, and he was an outside cat. He was a hunter. My mom wouldn't let him come inside. And when I went to meet with this cat, it's been a while since I'd been around a cat, like really interacted with it. And so when I first met him, he actually did the spread paw kind of claw. He didn't swipe at me, but he was just like, "Who is this?" I also had just put on some essential oils, so he was like, "What is going on?" Well, over the last couple of days, when I've been there, like after he has his dinner and I'll sit down in the chair and read or, watch some Netflix or something, his owners call it his little flip. His name's Pippin. And he'll jump up in my lap and then roll onto his back and just hang out there, And I'm getting at least one pip flip a day. So, and just last night I was petting him, and I actually, I was kind of agitated for a minute because he got a little scratchy, and and I had to just stop myself and thank him, like, dude, like, thanks for giving me some time, like, thanks for letting me just like slow down, stop for a minute, like pet you,
giving me the pip flick.
Yeah, and it was so. Thanks, cute. Pippin. Little shout out to Pippin.
That's cute. That's awesome. What about you, Lori?
My story kind of goes along with gratitude, but on a different level. When I was camping at the Gorge, DMB, we were just kind of getting a little stir crazy, and I grabbed a couple of my friends and I said, "Hey, let's go on a walkabout." They're like, "All right, what are we going to do?" I said, "We are going to go ask people what they're grateful for." So we just pulled up to people's camps, and I just said, "Hey, I got a question for you." And they're like, "What?" And I'm like, "What are you grateful for?" And, a lot of it at that point in time was friends and family and beautiful weather, but just to see their faces and to see them maybe pause for a minute to say, what am I grateful for? So that was one of my special moments this week.
Awesome. Nancy, do you have anything that you can think of?
I might not.
That's okay. It's a total spur of the moment thing. I actually thought about this, and I have to be honest. I've been thinking about it for a couple of days, and I'm like, okay, what is standing out for me this week that has just been like, wow, over the top positive? And I've been working a ton lately. So for me, my world is in my car, and and then we work on our new business too when we come home. So it's been just nonstop. So I wanted to actually share something with people out there, because I almost guarantee that you guys have all at least taken one rideshare ride in your life. And so on today's episode on How Not to Suck, I actually had this moment the other morning where a female got in my car in the morning, and I could tell that she had been up all night, which, no judgment. And I said, "Good morning." Nothing. Like, nothing. And I literally, I don't think every driver does this, but this is how I roll. So you get in my car, and it's like, I wouldn't go. I wouldn't leave. And I turn around and I say, "Good morning." Like, just acknowledge that I'm a human and I am not this robot, say hello. I don't care. You don't have to talk to me on the ride, but acknowledge that, like, hey, I'm Naomi. You're just trusting me with your life. No big deal. It is, I try to create this really good energy space in my car, and it works most of the time. But I have to tell you guys, sometimes, from my perspective as a driver, kind of being that fly on the wall in people's lives, it trips me out how many people are disconnected. Even in my space, I'm like, this isn't the bus. This is so weird, or like they'll sit in front with me and then put their headphones on and choose to ignore me. So I don't let people do that anymore. It's like my one thing. So just food for thought out there, guys. It's not like I do understand that you guys all are going through it in the day, but we are humans. We're out there doing a service to you. We clean our cars so it's nice for you. We're present, we're awake, we're rested, to get you from A to B. At least say hello. It's like we talked about an energy affecting animals, like your energy affects me. and so just maybe think about that, when you go out again. Just say hello. You don't have to like be in an engaging conversation, but let's start acknowledging each other, guys.
And be present.
Yeah.
Yeah, be present, respect other people's truth, and let's learn from each other. So that's part of the reason that we are doing the Real Shit podcast. This is giving us a platform to be able to have some of these conversations, which is really super exciting to us. You can visit our website, therealshit.net. You can learn more about us. We've got a cute little video of introducing Lori and I dancing at Pride.
Yay,
But
Pride.
we have some back episodes to listen to. Last week, we had the girl in from Pear, which is awesome. Since then, I have started filling out my volunteer initiation to go and see what I can do to help those kids, even if it's going in and just cooking a meal once, because I can do that. And I've also been just connecting our community in my car to Pear, to Fang. Like, we're having these conversations now because we're starting to connect. So let's keep that up. And like I said, therealshit.net.